Chapters 13 and 14. Chapter 13. Paul is again ejected from the church by Constans in consequence of the slaughter of the Hermogenes, his general. Intelligence of these proceedings reached the ears of Emperor Constantius, whose residence was then at Antioch. Accordingly, he ordered his general Hermogenes, who had been dispatched to Thrace, to pass through Constantinople on his way, and expel Paul from the church. He, on arriving at Constantinople, threw the whole city into confusion, attempting to cast out the bishops, for sedition immediately arose from the people in their eagerness to defend the bishop. And when Hermogenes persisted in his efforts to drive out Paul by means of his military force, the people became exasperated, as is usual in such cases, and making a desperate attack upon him, they set his house on fire, and after dragging through the city, they at last put him to death. This took place in the consulate of the two Augusti, that is to say, the third consulship. Constantius and the second Constans, at which time Constans, having subdued the Franks, compelled them to enter into a treaty of peace with the Romans. The Emperor Constantius, on being informed of the assassination of Hermogenes, set off on horseback from Antioch, and arriving at Constantinople, immediately expelled Paul, and then punished the inhabitants by withdrawing from them more than 40,000 measures of the daily allowance of wheat, which had been granted by his father for gratuitous distribution among them. For prior to this, Constantinople, nearly 80,000 measures of wheat brought from Alexandria had been bestowed on the citizens. He hesitated, however, to ratify the appointment of Macedonius to the bishopric of that city, being irritated against him not only because he had been ordained without his own consent, but also because on account of the contests in which he had been engaged with Paul. Hermogenes, his general, and many other persons had been slain, but having given him permission to minister in the church in which he had been consecrated, he returned to Antioch. Chapter 14. The Arians remove Gregory from the See of Alexandria and appoint George in his place. About the same time, the Arians ejected Gregory from the See of Alexandria on the ground that he was unpopular, and at the same time because he had set a church on fire and did not manifest sufficient zeal in promoting the interests of their party. They therefore inducted George into his see, who was a native of Cappadocia, and had acquired the reputation of being an able advocate of their tenets.